I think he's telling me I might die soon. Or
how did this change your life?
I was on TV, I was doing like reporting.
The London Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah, like, I was like, I guess to some degree it was like that. Do I want to do this when I'm in my 40s or my 50s? Not really.
I think we're all more than our jobs.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. The job is a lifestyle. And I felt that my personal life was really suffering because of it,
I'm always asking, give me the sign, universe.
It could be anything.
But it's sometimes hard to see those signs.
Yeah.
Do you have any life hacks?
To live in the present moment and stop thinking about the future so much.
Hey everyone, welcome to Define Her Path, a podcast where I chat with incredible women about what it takes to unlock your potential and change your life for the better. And today I sit down with Hershey Gargash, an editor, a writer, a journalist, a mother of three, who once decided to change her life, moved from London to Dubai. So Hershey, I believe that being an expat mother, a Westerner who is married into a local Emirati family, raising young humans, you have so much to share. And I'm very, very thankful that you found the time in order to do the podcast with me.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am so grateful to be here.
And for those who don't know anything about you, can you give a little introduction? Mm-hmm. How do you usually introduce yourself?
So you said it so perfectly well. So I am many things. So I would like to say I'm a creative, I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm a content creator, I'm also a Reiki healer actually, and I'm a mother, and I am just a human who is trying my best to just spread some joy and light into the world and just inspire people, whether it's just my children or a larger audience, however I can, in the best way that I can. I started working at around 20 years old at the time, and move on, like I'm 32, 33, 34, something like that. I realized, I was actually, my whole life was my job and my career. It wasn't really, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You're working weekends, you're traveling, you're doing, evening events, and it ends up really, it's a lifestyle. The job is a lifestyle. And I felt that my personal life was really suffering because of it. I felt like, I was great having an incredibly exciting career, but then I would go home to my really cozy, but nonetheless, my 1-bedroom apartment in Kensington, and I would be like, going home to myself. I can't even look after a dog.
Switching on Bridget Jones'
Yeah,
diary.
I couldn't even look after a dog because I was barely ever home. I was out like till late and then traveling often, and I'm not around to look after it. How can I even think about meeting the right guy or settling down with a person who was just an incredible person, and also you meet a lot of people that I felt, none of them were the right click where I could see myself marrying. In my mind, I wanted, to have a marriage that would be a lifelong marriage, in the hope that it would be. And I don't think I was meeting the right type of people who I could feel I would really settle down and build a really stable foundation. I just didn't feel that those people were coming into my life, and I think maybe my career and my priorities were not there, in to build this life. So I needed to take a step back, and I actually took a redundancy. At the time, I was working for a publishing house called the Express Group. And at the time, I was working for Celebrity Magazine, Star Magazine, and OK Magazine. And a redundancy kind of came up for optional redundancy. So if you wanted to, you could take it. And I thought, I think now's the time. At this time, I think I'd been working for this particular company for over a decade. And I thought, why not take a bit of a break? So I took a break for a few months, like 6 months, to just reassess what the next moves would be. And also what was really interesting was I was after I left my job as like a fashion and beauty director, it was like, who am I? Like, who is at the time, my name was Hershey Pasquale, I was like, who is Hershey Pasquale? I always thought of myself as an editor. I'm an editor and I write for magazines and I'm known for that, and I'm known to be a stylist and that defines who I am. But who else am I, other than being a daughter and a friend and a sister? I didn't know who else I was. And I was like, my God, I really need to do some soul searching.
How did you approach this question? Because I think this is a question that a lot of women ask themselves. Because it's very easy to define yourself when you have a career. You basically put a comma and say, oh, I'm a podcaster. I'm like, investment banker. And that defines you. But I think we're all more than our jobs.
Yeah.
So how did you approach that?
Well, I think I literally think, I don't know if you call it, I wouldn't say a midlife crisis in my early mid 30s, but I mean, I guess to some degree it was. And it was more the fact that I wanted change. I was honestly like career-wise, I was doing absolutely fine. I had my own column. I was, I was on TV. I was doing like reporting on channels like Sky News and BBC and ITV.
The London Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah, I was like, I guess to some degree it was like that, but literally I felt like quite empty, actually. I actually felt quite empty inside. Like after a while I was like, do I want to do this when I'm in my 40s or my 50s? Not really. I just wanted to build a home and have children. And I really I wanted a bit of normality, actually. I just wanted to have a normal lifestyle where I didn't mind just maybe doing a bit of a 9 to 5 and then coming home and making dinners and, all of that kind of stuff. So I think I just had to figure out how to do some soul searching. And then that was the question. And I think I needed to find myself. So I was really focused on a lot of healing work.
I read in your blog that there was a woman who did some soul reading for you.
Yes.
That actually changed your life. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. I met a few really interesting practitioners and healers. There was probably 1 or 2 people that really stood out. One man actually was a shaman.
Wow.
To be honest, at one point I was at the time I was in a long relationship, and then I just broken up with a partner at the time, and I saw a shaman, and I was like, where am I going with my personal life? And he said some really interesting things to me, and he said to me, because one of the questions I said to him was, am I going to ever get married? Will I ever have children? And he connects. So with this particular shaman, so they have a spiritual guide, and this shaman would speak to your personal spiritual guide. Okay. So everyone has their own spirit. So I actually forgot the name of my personal spiritual guide, but it would be someone I think it was White Feather or someone the name like that. And so he would connect to my spiritual guide. And this is a memorable one because he did kind of bring this up, which really helped me, really did comfort me at this point in life. And my spiritual guide through him was translating it and saying to me, what does it matter if, why do you think of the future? Why do you think, it's important to have children? Why do you think it's important to get married? What if this is your life? Act like this is your life. It could end at any day, he said. And if it ends at any day, why does your happiness have to be defined by what you want in the future? And I thought, oh my God, is he hinting that I might actually die soon? I thought to myself, oh my God, like I actually thought, I think he's telling me I might die soon, and I think he might be telling me I'm never going to have children, and I probably won't get married. And I thought, oh my God, it's his nice way of communicating this. I was thinking, what is this cryptic message? And in hindsight now, I look at it as he was basically telling me to live in the present moment and just be grateful for this present moment and stop thinking about the future so much. Stop hoping for things that may or may not come, because actually it may or may not come, but it shouldn't define your joy now or your happiness. And I looked at it like that, and I
really
thought,
like this thought, actually.
And it was a really beautiful message, because although at the time I thought he meant I was going to die, and like something tragic could happen to me, I literally thought, oh my God, if I die next week, that is it. I am not going to be thinking about getting married or planning about being upset that I might not have children. I am just going to live each day as it comes. And literally, I would just enjoy nature or enjoy that food or my friends, and really not think about planning too far ahead.
How did this change your life?
How did my meeting with the shaman?
Yeah, did you start appreciating the moment?
Yeah, it changed my life, because I really was more grateful for now, and I really stopped like hunting for like titles, positions, and it was more, let's get down to the core of me. Who am I? Like, where is my soul journey going to take me? Like, I need to really discover who I am, more than just a body and mind. I'm actually like a spirit with how am I going to impact the world, or how am I going, whether it is, I was really questioning things like, it doesn't have to be a question of impacting millions of people, or like being a CEO for like a huge company and inspiring the world. It could just be inspiring your family, or inspiring, your kids, or inspiring just something to kind of like a pebble dropping into the ocean and the ripples, just the ripple effect. It could be big or small. So it was a lot of like soul searching and just questioning myself. And I think that is when I decided to I took this redundancy package, and this was while I was in my little mini break. But then at that point, I thought, you know what? I've enjoyed like a good 6 months of leisurely taking my time doing this. I was doing loads of retreats and meeting different healers and practitioners. And
where was that?
In different places. Like, I would go to Spain, and I did like some breathwork healing, releasing anything that was kind of holding me back. It's actually incredible breathwork that I would find through word of mouth, actually, because I was also a wellness and travel editor. I had heard through people and recommended through PR companies, like, check out this retreat. And, I had built a good connection with healers across the globe, because I'd, explored different hotels. You previously had to review hotels, which I'm still doing now, but at the time I was doing it then as well. And I would meet people through introductions. So at that time, I said, right, it's time to do what you're actually good at, which is, okay, I love writing. It's time to go back, but definitely not in London. I didn't want to go back to a career in the UK. I felt like I needed somewhere where I was by maybe the beach, the sun, maybe a new community of people. And I literally
you could have gone to California.
I could have gone to California, and to be honest, I was very open to different countries. So I literally went on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I am not joking. I had applied for 4 jobs, literally just 4 jobs on LinkedIn.
Okay.
One job was in Singapore. They were all jobs related to editor work, so editorial and publishing. So one job was a job in Singapore. One job was in Hong Kong. One job was in Sydney. And one job was in Dubai. And I applied for 3 jobs literally and just left it out to the universe. And I stepped back. I didn't apply for any other job, nothing in the UK, nothing. And I thought, oh, well, I've done this one. I'll figure it out because these jobs sound really appealing on LinkedIn and see what happens. And I got, throughout the weeks, I heard back from certain HR companies from Singapore, from Hong Kong and Sydney saying I didn't make it to the next round. And the position in Dubai got back to me and I got called for a second interview. Then I got called, this is all online. I got called for a third interview and then the fourth interview. And I thought, oh, okay. Then I got offered a job. And so it was in Dubai. It was a position in Dubai. At the time, actually, it was working for a publication. I'm not sure if I should say, but I guess I can say. I guess I could say it was work for a magazine. Actually, it was Forbes in the Middle East, which obviously is a good title. But so I took this position, and so it led me to Dubai. But
have you been to Dubai before?
So I had been on holiday to Dubai.
Okay.
And I think I'd only been here for like a 7-day holiday.
Okay.
So
That's already a good introduction.
Yeah. So literally a 7-day holiday, stayed in like one hotel, and that was it really. Didn't see too much of Dubai. And I think I had gone to Dubai. I think the year that I had been offered a job, it was 2015. But the year I came to Dubai was 2012. So it was a couple of years before.
Okay. Dubai is evolving quite fast. So
yes,
it's a different city.
It was very much. But at the time I was like, do you know what? This is a calling. And I'm kind of like that. I'm very kind of, I like to hear and see signs, and then I like to go with things. And I know, it takes a certain character to be that way. So
no, I think I'm the same actually.
And it's quite nice actually.
I'm always asking, give me the sign, universe.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes hard to see those signs.
Yeah.
Do you have any life hacks, like how to notice them?
I mean, sometimes for me, certain things were like staring me in the face. I mean, like with this, I literally said, like, for example, the job, I literally said, I will apply and what is meant to be, what the universe tells me, I'll just listen. I think I'm just a very open person. So, I mean, it was kind of obvious when the job came up, I was like, this is the sign. I've got to move to Dubai. I'm just going to take it. And I thought, worst case scenario, I do a few months or a year or two and come back to the UK. And then I start again in the UK. I still have my contacts here. I have family here and it's going to be fine. So I took the job and I to be honest, I didn't like the job. The job role itself wasn't quite how I had hoped it would be. So I stayed, I think it must have been barely 6 months. And I left the job and then I was looking for the next job. But at that time, I'd actually rented an apartment here. I'd rented a 2-bedroom apartment in JBR by the marina, and I'd already signed the contract for a whole year. So I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to like waste this. I've got like a good, like, I think at the time I'd given a little bit of notice. So I think I had a good 7 months left for this. And I thought, I better look for some other positions and see what's going on. And unfortunately, and this is what I think. I think when certain things in life are meant to be, doors just open. It's not difficult. I think when you're meant to be in the right place and the right time and you're going on the right path, I think there isn't too much of a struggle. And I find that in life, when you're really forcing things and you want things so much and you think it's the right thing and you're like, I gotta make this happen. I want this to happen. You might have all the intention for something to happen, but actually certain things out of your control just block it. They won't let things happen. You're like, why on earth? Like, I don't know. It could be anything like it could be anything.
Yeah.
that will just stop you from trying to get to where you would hope to be. But on the flip side, I think when you're meant to be somewhere, things just fall on your lap. And fortunately, I literally, after this, I left this position. I think I went back to London for like 2 weeks, and bizarrely enough, through a friend, said to me, an editor-in-chief is looking for an editor. She's actually in London when you're in London. She would like to meet you. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, great. I'll meet her. So I was in London, met this lovely lady who was in London and looking for an editor position to open up an online in the Middle East, in Dubai, for her magazine. So I'm in London, and literally I was given the job within like a couple of weeks in London. I was like, oh my God, this is insane.
Dubai is calling.
Dubai is calling me back. I'm going back to Dubai. So I went back to Dubai and started working. And then it just kind of kept on going from there. So I think that's quite an interesting thing. I think, one should definitely like follow their like heart and be open-minded to things and not be, and if things are not working out, I think, maybe there's a reason things aren't working out.
You know what? Dubai, for a lot of people, is a temporary place. And some people even call it a terminal because at some point in your life, you spend a couple of years or months here and then you move out. But for you, it became a place where you actually stayed and you started building a family, building a life. So I'm wondering, at what time have you decided, like, when did you decide it's time to stay here?
Again, this is a funny universal story, like literally. So at this point, when I had worked again with the new job, I still, I don't know if I'm going to be here for a year or 2 years, but life happened when I was working. I was actually working for another publication. I think at this point I'd been in the country for maybe a year and a half or a year and a few months. So I was working for a publication, a publishing house that actually now, I believe it's closed down now, but we were looking after about 13 magazines. And my amazing editor-in-chief was, she was actually heavily pregnant at the time. She was going to give birth fairly soon. And she was supposed to be interviewing an Emirati watch collector. So a person here, collective watches. We were working with Christie's auction house, and they had suggested we interview this collector who was someone that they work closely with. And so my boss was actually supposed to interview this person. And literally, I think it was a day before the interview, she was really not feeling well. And she literally calls me. And she said, Hershey, please, can you go in my place to interview this person because I'm just not going to make this interview. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, of course, I'm here to help. I'm here to assist, whatever you need. So, but then in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh God, I've got to do a watch interview. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm not that familiar with watches and watches and their movements and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh God, I better do some research because I want to get good questions and all of that. So I was like, okay, I'll do my research on a bit more about watches. So literally last minute, I, in her place, went to the interview and I'd met the guy that we were interviewing and who was an incredibly lovely person, very warm, very, very, very down to earth, talked about his watches, but was so when you meet someone and you think, oh, it's so easy to talk to this person. And normally, when you interview someone, it's like maybe sometimes 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half at most.
How long was your interview?
5 hours later. 5 hours later, we're still talking. And
about watches.
Now we'd move on to life and other things. And I remember it was a lunch interview and it was now sunset. And the only reason I stopped chatting was because I'd remembered I had a spa appointment. I didn't want to miss my spa massage. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I have to go. I really have to go now. And he was this, and honestly, I can honestly say that I when I met him, I just thought he was a really lovely, just a nice person, wasn't thinking anything else. And he was insisting, he was like, listen, no, let me drop you at your spot. I was like, no, it's fine. I didn't have a car at the time. I was taking taxis. I was like, no, it's fine. I'll take a taxi. He was like, no, I insist. I was thinking, oh gosh. And actually the truth is I was a little scared because I didn't know this person. I was like, back in London, I would never get into a car with a stranger. So I was like so nervous. Like I was, half of me was like, is it safe to go in a car with a stranger? And the other part was like, it's fine. They all have his details in the office. They know where I was. If something happens to me, it's going to be okay. They can track me down. So I went in the car and before I got dropped off, he actually randomly said to me, because I think Dubai Opera had just opened like maybe 7 months ago or 6 months ago. And I've been dying to go to the opera. And he literally just said to me, do you want to go to the opera? And I was like, oh my God, the man after my own heart. I would so love to go to the opera. It would be amazing. I really want to go. And basically, cut a long story short, this man ended up being my husband. So it was a really weird thing. He's from the country, he's an Emirati, and I'm obviously a Westerner. And at the time it was like, I didn't think at all I would marry someone from the region. It wasn't in my mind, it wasn't in my radar, and to be honest, it was the most interesting experience in the sense that it was probably between him and I, the easiest in terms of him and I, such a smooth relationship. We got on so well. It was really peaceful. It wasn't a relationship that was difficult or a struggle, or you're trying to change someone, or, any of these things. You're trying to find yourself. I met him, I'd already found myself, and I was really kind of, comfortable with who I am and my self-worth. And I'd done a lot of soul searching, and I felt fairly grounded and stable. And I met this person, I think, at the right time.
Was it love at first sight?
I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, but it was it wasn't about sight. It was more about how my heart felt, or how I felt. I felt so with him, so calm. It was so at peace, meeting someone who was so kind, so down to earth. He was so he was such a warm person, such a warm, and I felt this sense of he was such an honest person. He was very transparent, and I think these are the qualities that I like in people, and he had all that. So was it love at first sight? It was more peace at first sight, or not peace at first heart, whatever you want to call it. It was a heart-led feeling,
Yeah. But I also think it's very important to be in contact with yourself, and probably you were, because in order to listen to your feelings, you have to be at that point of life.
Yes.
Because sometimes, especially when you are very career-driven, you have so many events, people going on, friends. It's quite, I think, tough to listen to yourself.
I think that's really important. I think more than anything, your voice is so important, more than anybody else's voice. People could give you advice. People can say, I don't think that's good for you, or, you ought to be this thing, or you ought to do this, you ought to choose this path. And, of course, some people's whose opinion you value, it's important to do that. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this is the best thing to say, but I think it's so important to really follow what you feel is right.
What helps you to follow what you feel?
I was already in a country where I'd already randomly picked the universe picked this country. I picked countries. I already knew, what? I would always remember saying that another healer had told me, and it was along the lines of, you are safe. The universe has your back, literally. No matter what, you're safe. just follow your heart, just do what you feel is right. And you're always safe. You
trust the universe.
Yeah, like trust the universe. Like basically just trust the universe. And I always had these little sayings in my mind. So I always felt that. In the past, I would listen to people's advice, whether it were friends or, family or other people you might look up to. And to be honest, they never always worked out. They never always did. So at the end of the day, who picks up the pieces? It has to be you. You fall, you've got to pick yourself up. There's so much other people can do, but really you're the one.
I read in your blog that now you have 2 gorgeous girls and 1 adorable boy, and you had your first child a week before your 40th birthday. Yeah. But this is really interesting. It was a personal vision to be in a loving relationship and have a child before you were 40. Yeah. Did you know that?
You know what? I always had hoped, because at the time when I think about it, I moved to Dubai when I was 35. And obviously I was single, I didn't have children. And during the years leading up to meeting my husband, I would say to myself, I feel like the 20s were really about learning. The 30s was also about correcting things that I probably didn't get right in my 30s, in my 20s. And now that I'm here, I was like, I hope I'm learning the lessons I'm supposed to be learning, and I'm attracting the right, visualizing and attracting the right type of person that will be good for me in my life, that I would also support and build this vision in my mind where I'd have this.
Have you ever felt any pressure that you, gotta have kids, gotta get married in your 30s? Because within a lot of cultures, there is this stereotype that you have to get married before a certain age.
And I think that is very true. I think that is very, very true. I mean, I definitely had, my sister got married when she was 26 or 27. And definitely I would say, my family would have hoped that I would get married early, not early, but in my 20s. And also my circles of friends who I was socializing with on a daily basis all got married before 31, literally. Wow. My immediate close friends, so I think I wouldn't say all, but a good 95%.
That's a lot.
Yeah, which is quite a lot. So, so I think by the time I was like 35, I mean, it was definitely a thing where people were getting married in their late 20s, early 30s. And when it came to dinner parties, it was always me. It was like husbands and you sitting there, or, and it was like, oh, well, like twiddling my thumbs. And weddings, going to weddings, everyone would bring their husbands, and I'd come alone. I'd fly halfway around the world on my own to go to a wedding, and, everyone was there with their husbands at this time, and it's like I'm 35, 36, 37, and I was still like flying over to different places. And so in my...
Were you sad about it, or you were already embracing the now?
I think, definitely when I was living in the UK, before I had moved to Dubai, I wasn't embracing it. I would say it was literally just before, when I was doing a lot of healing work, it was around that time, that year, like around the 35-year mark where I moved here, where I wasn't sad after the shaman, gave me this present moment, really loved, and appreciate now. And because, basically there may not be a tomorrow. And I think after certain things resonating, I was very happy going to weddings, or being that solo person at dinners, because I was like, these are my friends. I'm enjoying my time with my friends, and I'm enjoying the company. I can, I appreciate the things that I have here that, other people wish they had. So I think, after changing my mindset, for sure, I did. But prior to that, no, I wasn't. I was quite sad and quite upset about things, hoping for things, to just, hoping for things to happen sooner, get married. Like, why am I not married? I'm 35, why do I not have a boyfriend? I'm 35, and all of that stuff. And but I think though, after, like I said, when that shaman said that to me, and I realized Absolutely not. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I don't get married, actually. If I don't have kids, it's okay. It's fine. You can still live a full life and not have children. You can still live a very full life and not be married, And I think it was this acceptance then.
I think this is really important because from what I hear, there are so many stories that actually women meet their future husbands at the point they feel relaxed and they say, okay, maybe I will never meet anyone. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still myself and I'm going to enjoy my life.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, there's definitely a thing with saying it and feeling it and believing it. And I think people can say things, but they have to really believe it,
What can help one believe? Because it's hard sometimes.
I don't know. I honestly think you just have to be honest with this stuff. And to be perfectly frank, I don't think everyone can say that they might believe it. Maybe I really don't know. I think you have to, every individual is so different, right? And every individual has to be responsible for their own like choices in life and like their own like self-worth and self-love.
Yeah. But I think it's so important even to allow yourself, like give yourself a permission to imagine yourself in that state. Like, how am I going to be there? How am I going to feel?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think you just have to I think it's just really being at peace with wherever you're at. Like really be at peace with it and just be okay with it. I mean, to be honest, having a birthday is a blessing, right? I mean, we all don't want to hide, a lot of people can hide their age and like, they don't want to really say they're like 45. But actually, I'm proud of it because it's a blessing that some people don't have. Some people are like, they die before their kids, it's sad. They haven't even led a full life. I'm proud of always saying how old I am, I turned 45 this year, and I'm proud of it. And, in 5 years, I'll be 50. And I can't believe that. I was like, wow, I'll be 50 in 5 years. But that's okay. I'm always...
But your life has changed so much in these 5 years, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, right. My life has changed. And I think, going back to your question, when did it feel like home? Well, I married an Emirati. This is his home. He always said to me, this is my home. I can have a home somewhere else, or the holiday home or whatever, but this is my home,
But you know what is interesting? There are so many people who try to live abroad, they have a job, but at some point they actually want to move back. As they say, I'm closer to my roots, to my... I don't know, country, like I want to be home. For you, it was different, right? It was like in search of a new home.
Yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is true. But I've always been like that. So it's not something that suddenly hit me when I was 30s. I mean, I was always, to be honest, I think even when I wouldn't say when I was a teenager, but certainly in my 20s, I loved London. And I still do, I have a soft spot for London, but, I always, for some reason, I did not think I was going to necessarily always live in London. I just didn't think, I was always connected to other parts of the world. I have like roots in Asia and I love Asia. I loved London. I was very open as a child and, growing up to live in another, I think the main thing that led me was I needed to be around sunshine, to be honest. I was like, give me a country.
No judgment here.
Yeah, where there's going to be sunshine and, I'll be a happy girl. Give me the beach, give me some nature, and then I'll like find my joy in that. And yeah.
You now have 3 kids.
Yes.
Have you ever thought that you would have had 3 kids?
No, no. I was literally, like I said, before I met my husband when I think I must have been like 37. And we got married when I was 38. And I was just hoping, actually, it's an interesting story because I think after we got married, I I thought to my husband, I said to him, oh my goodness, I've never checked if I'm actually okay. Like, I'm 38. I never checked if I can have kids. Like, maybe I should just check actually and see if I can have kids. And he said, yeah, sure, if you want. So I remember, because I guess I don't know why I didn't do the research myself to pick a clinic, but my husband randomly picked, and now in hindsight, now I know him so well, I should have actually picked it. He's not the most like savvy person when it comes to wellness, let's say. So he randomly picked this clinic, like in, I think off the Wassell Road, which I can't even remember what the clinic was, to be honest. And he said, okay, I booked this, and this clinic was like fertility clinic, right? So I walked in. And I said, oh, I'm 38, we just got married. I really want to check and see how I'm doing. So she checks me and they check my husband. And basically after that, they sit us both down and they say to my husband, you're absolutely fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. And then they look at me and they said, and this woman, I've completely forgotten her name. She goes, oh, I'm so sorry, but your age and it's really limiting, and I just don't know if you're going to be able to have kids. Literally, honestly, she said that to me. And I think we'd been married maybe 3 or 4 months or something like that. I really don't know if you're going to be able to have kids. And she said, your eggs are really limiting, and you're getting older. And if you really are serious about having kids, I would start IVF now. Literally. That is what she said to me. And I was just like sitting in that office and but I'm quite headstrong. And also going back to what you said, follow your gut, right?
Yeah.
Okay, don't listen to advice from other people.
Yeah, but when with their doctors.
I know, but still my gut was to myself. I was like, excuse me. I didn't say this to her. I did not say this to her. I was like, excuse me. I've only been trying for 3 months. I didn't say that to her either. I don't think I did. I probably did. Maybe I said that, but I didn't say it with that tone. I was thinking 3 months, like, come on. If I've been trying for 3 years and with no success, I'll be like, okay, maybe I should think about IVF. But I'm like, I haven't even been trying. Maybe 2-3 months. It is nothing. I am certainly not going to put my body through that because it takes a lot of time and hormones and patience and everything. And I really applaud women that go through it. And, it's amazing when it's a success, but, it's not an easy road. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I don't care that this doctor told me to do it. And I was actually really pissed off. And I remember we left and I was in such a mood. And I said to my husband, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And I have no intention of doing such a thing. Damn her. And this clinic, I'm going to just do me and just ignore it. And I literally said that to him. He was like, of course, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Do what you need to do. And I'm not joking. I literally did. I did just that. And there could be a million other things. I could go on about another story about why I impregnated. My husband would just think I'm crazy because actually after that trip, I went to Africa. And I remember, I didn't go with my husband. I went with a close friend of ours. So it was like, I basically went with a friend. And I was in a shop in Africa. It was a hotel shop, and it was like arts and crafts. And literally I walked into this shop and there were beautiful pieces, like sculptures, like African art and sculptures. And there was this woman, this carved wooden sculpture of a woman.
Okay.
That I was like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this piece of this wooden sculpture. I said to myself, I have to buy this. But then I was like, oh, I'm here for 3 days. I'm just gonna I'll get it on the last day. But it was actually a work trip. So I had a meeting with a really beautiful, this really amazing lady, she's a beautiful lady, who was actually the art curator of this hotel. She said to me in our meeting, she was in charge of like all the art pieces in the hotel, and we were talking about art in the hotel. And she said to me, have you been to our shop yet? And I said, yeah, I have. I have my eye on this piece. And then she said, have you seen the fertility lady? And I said, what, the what? Pardon? She goes, the fertility lady. And I said, what does this fertility lady look like? And she described this lady who you cannot miss, because I saw her that morning. And I was like, voluptuous, beautiful woman wearing yellow and big bosoms, like big buttocks. And she was like so like oozing like femininity and everything. And I was like, this lady, she was like a really like big woman and like just really cool with her really bright outfit. And I was like, she basically completely described this wooden sculpture that I was going to buy anyway. And I was like, wow, you have literally, again, a sign from the universe, I'm going to buy this piece for the house. And I literally brought her home. So this is what I was saying. My husband would hate the fact that I constantly tell him, and he said, excuse me, it's not the fertility, that I swear I got the wooden the wooden piece, brought it home. That month I was pregnant, literally. That month, wow, I fell pregnant. And whenever I say it to friends, they're like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. My husband looks at me and he gives this like earless look and he's like, it wasn't that woman because it was me. He thinks I'm giving credit to this woman. But like, I don't know.
Did you bring this lady to the doctor that you were talking to?
And so
saying.
I was like, just saying. But literally, so after I met that lady, I literally got pregnant 2 months later. Wow. After the doctor's meeting, I got pregnant 2 months later. And then I gave birth to my first child. It was a week before my 40th birthday. So I literally was a mother before she was a complete gift to me. She was my 40th birthday gift. I was so happy. I could just, every time I even think about it and I feel like crying, I'm like, oh my God, it was such a momentous and just such an amazing thing. Because honestly, I literally didn't think I was going to have kids. I literally didn't think I was going to get married and have kids. And there I was, like on my 40th birthday, holding my baby. And I was like, oh my God, forget everything. Forget jewelry, forget anything, forget clothes. None of this matters. Like, I am so blessed. I'm so happy. I've got the greatest gift I could ever have as a woman, like having my baby girl on like before my 40th. Oh my God, I'm so emotional.
I'm getting emotional as well.
And literally I was so happy. And then a blessing after I gave birth to her, with 19 months later, my second child, 19 months later, my third child, it was like, it flowed. It just flowed.
The fertility lady just opened.
She opened the floodgates, I don't know. My husband would kill me that I'm even saying this, but she did. Like, it was a bit of everything. I don't know. It's a bit of many things.
But thank you so much for sharing this story.
That's okay.
Because I think so many women, they need to hear it. Because I think, especially when you are in your 30s, being single, even like having a successful career, sometimes you are asking yourself, like, what is wrong with me? Yeah. Why everybody's having what I'm craving for? Yeah. So I think this is really important also to know that these stories happen in the universe.
Yeah, it really, it does. And I think the most important thing is just being really true to yourself and your intentions and like what you want.
Is there anything, like any lesson, any advice you would love to transmit to your kids? Like, what is the most important thing you would love them to learn?
Definitely, like, there's so many things. I think being kind and giving is really good. I think karma is really important to understand. Like, it's always really important what you give to the world, you also get back in different ways. And I
believe in that, actually.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe not in the ways you think you'll get it back.
For sure.
Right? But you'll get it back. But I think when you give, you must give not thinking you'll get back, but more that you give with an open heart, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
because
but
I've been thinking a lot about that.
Yeah.
When you are ready to give, you actually receive, but don't give for the sake of
Yes.
receiving, right?
Exactly
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one. Also, what I think is really important, and it was one in some of my self-healing journeys, I remember there were like 5 things that I was saying to myself actually in my 20s and 30s when I discovered, I think it was it Deepak Chopra that was like telling me, I did like a course with him. And I think one of the key things that he said, and I was like, oh my God, that's so important, is that if you close your eyes and if you think about certain things that you have to say these 5 different things, and you have to think, do you have all these 5 things? I was like, and so you have to close and you say to yourself, I am loved, I am safe, I am whole, and I'm worthy. And like, if you honestly just say these 5 things to yourself, and like sometimes I remember I was chatting to different people about it throughout the years, and there are things are missing. Some people don't have self-worth. They think they do, but actually they don't. Some people do not have self-love for themselves. Some people do not feel safe. They grew up in environments where they are on like, they feel fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
or having that in you is not very good for your nervous system, for, a lot of things, for your heart chakra. I mean, a million different things, right? So, I think that's one thing. So I remember like when I learned to actually find like peace with all of these 5 things, oh my God, this is so simple.
Let's repeat them because I think this is important for the listeners.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's so true. And I always say it now to my kids. I whisper it into their ear. I make them say it. Not all of them can talk yet, but like,
they will at some point.
Like 1 or 2 of them can, like 2 of them can talk properly. So I'm saying to them, and they're like, my 5-year-old is definitely saying it now, but like my 3-year-old bits and bobs. But actually, it's funny because I say that to her, and then afterwards she kisses me in the cheek, and I'm like, oh, maybe she did get it. Maybe she did, but I just keep on saying it. But so let's say it again. So it's like, I am loved, I am whole, I am safe, I am worthy, and I can't remember the 5th. What is the 5th?
Maybe I'm enough.
Yeah, it wasn't I'm enough actually, but that from Deepak Chopra's
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
But maybe it was 4. Oh damn.
That's enough.
That's enough.
You are enough.
That is enough. You are enough. That is enough. Yeah, maybe it was 4.
Maybe
it was 4.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what, I'm interested, since you are very into healing, soul reading, learning about yourself, becoming a mother is a big transition for every woman, especially when you were single, having a career-driven life, and then everything changes. And as you said, you wanted to invest more time in the family building, with the kids, let's say in your home. Have you, like, I don't know, gone through any healings, like mother? You know what I'm talking about?
As in with motherhood, how has motherhood like healed me?
Yeah.
In some ways, that what you?
Yeah.
Oh, massively. I think one of the biggest thing is, I mean, I can't speak for all mothers, right? But I can certainly speak for myself.
Exactly.
It really has it's helped. I was on the road to it anyway, like really shedding ego. Like everyone has some varying degree of ego, I think, at some point in life. And I think, being a mum has really stripped, like for me, any form of like, you're there literally at its rawest form of like looking after a little being, right? And who with intentions to give your child so much like the best of life, right? And I just feel the qualities that are so important with my grounding in life before I was a mother was like, just like strip away all the I am this and I am that, like apart from the self-worth and all of that. But I mean, like, it's not necessarily about, it doesn't matter if I am CEO, or, I am owning X businesses, or I'm doing all of this. It's more the fact for me is like, I'm a good person. You know, I want to help where I can. I want to inspire my children or support people that need support, you know? And I think motherhood, like when you're carrying, I get before my 40th birthday, when you're carrying your, like your being, like, you know, literally like in your hands, and you're like, oh my God, what's the meaning of life? Like for me, it was like, I'm giving life, like spread as much like true self into the world, and like love, and let's heal. Let's, you know, like, let's approach things with, you know, the heart chakra, less so with ego,
Wow.
you know?
I like that.
That kind of thing.
Is there anything you find difficult about being a mother?
Well, I mean, it's daily. It's an obstacle, you know, like, my God, you know, it's not easy. It's noisy, you know, people are crying, kids are crying constantly. Like, you've got to really soothe kids and keep your sanity, right? And then, I mean, even like getting here, for example, like I had just did this swimming classes with the girls, and then I got dropped off, and literally they dropped me off, and I had to say to them, kids, I'll see you at home. I'm just,
Mommy is not coming back.
You know, I'm getting out here, and I'll be home in a few hours. I'll like see you later. Oh my God, the crying, but Mommy, I want to come, Mommy. You know, it's hard, like 3 screaming kids wouldn't let me out of the car. You know, I mean, you know, they were holding my hands, and I'm trying to get out of the car, and I'm like,
a bit of daily drama.
Yeah, it was like, this is like a daily occurrence, right? I mean, it's, you know, these little things, you know, but they're like joyous things. Life goes by so fast. You know, I can't believe my daughter's 5 now. You know, I remember when she was born, like 5 years is fast. Next thing, 10, 15, and they're teenagers, you know. So I'm like, God, these things are so, you know, again, enjoying the present moment, right? Enjoying the fact that my kids are this age, and I'm enjoying the childhood with them, and they're like learning. You're just trying to have to be calm with them and teach them to be calm. And of course, it's hard work, you know, trying to keep a sane mind.
No, I really like this approach. But it's interesting because you haven't stopped your self-realization. You continue on like with your project. Tell me about them. Like, what are you doing currently?
Yeah, so, you know, I always love like writing. And so we've got this, my partner and I, my business partner and I, we've got this. Veronica, yes. We've got this online travel blogger, magazine-blogger, where we interview, it's a magazine where we interview different people for the magazine. We travel to different places, different hotels, to talk about places to visit, people that inspire you. And we created that in the last, I think it's been like since 2020, so the last 5 years. It's been like a wonderful project. What a Wonderful World guide. And then, so we've been working with that. I'm always writing. I'm still freelance writing. I'm actually in the middle. I started, but then I gave birth to my little baby boy, my recent boy, he's only 1 now. I started last year writing a children's book, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is my next new project. I started doing that.
What's it about?
I don't want to say too much, but let's just say it's focused for kids around, let's say 3 to 6, about my passions, which is about the environment. And let's just put it like that for now.
Sounds very promising.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm excited about it.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, thank you. I'm super excited about it. It's early days still. I've still got a lot of work to do, but I'm hoping I'll get it done in the coming months. So that's my next project. Always writing, and let's see where the new project. I've got potential new projects coming up, which I can't say yet because I'm waiting for things to be official. But they're on the lines of writing and doing things of my passion. Let's say with things like inspiring people with travel, lifestyle, family.
talking about travel, you've visited so many places. You have the travel guide. You've worked in fashion, luxury travel. Like what is the place that you find life-changing, like that everybody needs to visit at some point?
Wow. Do you know, goodness, that's a very interesting question. Well, for me, I would say previously I had an old top 3 places to visit, but actually now that's changed. I mean, probably do, but there are 2 places in the world that comes to my mind, which I absolutely love. I recently got back from Bhutan, and it's a country that I've always been fascinated to see for the past 15 years. I was always interested in Buddhism. I loved a book called The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. Have you read it?
Oh my God, it's interesting because this is the second time I hear about this book during this particular week. Yes.
No way.
Yeah, I need to read it.
You need to read it. That is a sign from the universe there.
Yeah.
You got to read this. And, I've been I read that book and I was interested in Buddhism and thinking about, listening to the universe and following your path and all of that. And Bhutan it's an incredible place. Obviously, the beautiful, inspiring temples. And you have to have a guide when you go. And I visited some incredible places, like this place of pilgrimage called Tiger's Nest, where we literally climbed and trekked to get to this temple that took several hours. The most amazing, it was an amazing path to get there. The country in itself is stunning. Mountains, amazing food, incredible people. From Dubai, it's only 4.5 to 5 hours on a direct flight. So I went with Royal Bhutan Airways. I think it's Royal Bhutan. I think that's the right name for it. But it was incredible. So I would say, if now they're really opening up its tourism now. So for me, that was super inspiring. If you like nature and you're interested in a bit of Buddhism and seeing some culture and temples, for me, it's a must. I didn't go with the kids, actually. I went on a work trip, but I would definitely go with the family. And I said to my guide and to the people that I will be back. So I will definitely be back. That was a really inspiring place. And another amazing place, which is so close to Dubai, which I always love, is Oman. I love Oman. Have you been?
Never.
I love Oman. Again, it's just full of beauty. I mean, what I love about Oman is it's such a peaceful place. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. Is it the energy there? But you walk in, you walk around, it feels very slow paced. It's really calming. And the parts of Oman are amazing. Like if you go to Muscat, they've got, it's more of the slightly more city vibe. It's not particularly busy in comparison to places like Dubai, obviously. And then you go to Salalah, which is down south, or the borders of Yemen. And it's completely different in the summer time from June, July, August, parts of September. It's so green. It's I thought I was in England. It's like the English countryside, literally luscious. It's incredible. And it's somewhere where I think for me, places where I find lots of peace is important. I'm not a girl where you would think, I don't get me wrong, I love Maldives and I love the Seychelles, of course. I love beautiful resorts and family-friendly places, 100%. But I'm a kind of girl that loves a bit of nature, a little bit of adventure. I like walking, I like treks. And I like a kind of a side of a bit of a spiritual journey. So wherever there's amazing yoga things, or Bali, I also love very much. I love that. I'm a vegan, amazing vegan food in Bali, amazing restaurants. I love all the retreats that are available there. It's beautiful when it comes to nature. It's definitely another go-to place. So those are my 3 favorite places.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Last question. My personal mission is creating podcasts that center women's stories. I do that in Russian. I've started doing that in English. And my podcasts are usually watched by girls who would love to change their life at some point. But a lot of them are either afraid of the change. Embracing the unknown sounds like a big leap of faith. Also, some of them do not believe in themselves and don't feel worthy, as we've discussed. What you would tell to a girl who is watching and probably being very inspired by your story?
Do you know, I think the main thing is, the truth is, meditating helped me a lot. It's connecting to yourself. You need to get rid of all the chaos in your mind. Get rid of people. I think other people telling you what you should do, what's the right thing to do. You need to connect with yourself. And I think if you connect with yourself, and for me, I know meditating massively helped me connect with myself. Really getting to my root chakra, my heart chakra, clearing my chakras and really connecting with who I am. I think once you do that, whether it's however you do it, whether you go on a spiritual journey, see different people to really heal, read books, travel, whatever you need to connect with yourself. Once you connect with yourself, you really have to listen to your gut. Listen to your gut, or never doubt it, because it's always the truth. It's always the truth. And no matter what, you are, if you listen to your gut, you're always safe. Literally, you're always safe. And what's meant to be will be, if it might not be the ending of a story in your mind, that might happen. But it's another ending, an ending that is supposed to be your story, if that makes sense.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Sharing your story and being that. And I don't know, I'm going to meditate straight away. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.